Hello, we're here with Frank Tortelson and
Tortorich.
Tortorich. I'm sorry, what am I thinking? Tortelson, Tortorich, and Frank is an expert authority on the gold mining era and the gold rush in particular, and the trails that came out. You know, we talk about the Oregon Trail and the California Cutoff and the Mormon Trail, and I think it'll be interesting for our viewers to kind of get a little bit of your expertise, Frank, in terms of how those trails all developed and the history of those trails. And Frank has two incredible books. One, his older publication, which is really more of a driving guide, the Gold Rush Trail, and you can drive all the way through out Highway 88 and up in the areas, and it really gives you a super overview of what to look for along that area. But this newly revised GPS version of the Hiking the Gold Rush Trail is incredible in terms of knowing where you are with the GPS, because when you get up over that range along some of those trails in that western pass, you know, in the Sierras, you can get a little confused. And to send visitors up there, this book really does give you an exact diagram of how to approach each ridge and where you are in the GPS. And you know, it's a safe way to really explore those mountains up there. People don't realize those are, you know, truly the wilderness. And Frank, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how did you get so involved in terms of publishing these wonderful books?
Well, I've been researching the westward migration and Carson Pass trail for many, many, many years. And then I started giving talks to Rotary clubs and various organizations, the library, and then leading some tours. Well, then people were saying, well, how do I find the trail if I don't go out with you? And so that was why I wrote the Gold Rush Trail, which is a driving guide, as you said, 33 miles along Highway 80, starting at Woodford's and ending at the Old Iron Mountain ski area. But it didn't cover the section between Caples Lake, up over the ridges, through the wilderness, over to Tragedy Spring. So I wrote Hiking the Gold Rush Trail, and it covered that 16 miles of trail.
Great resource for explorers and just all of our local Amador County people who go up there into the wilderness. These are two great books to have. I'm a big fan of the Gold Rush era, and I've read the Diary of John Dobles. I thought it was a romantic novel. He had a romance with someone just by letter, never even met the woman. She ended up marrying years later. But he spent 4 years as a gold miner.
Right.
John Dobles out here in Volcano, and just kept a diary every day of what he bought, what he ate, and it's just a fascinating publication. And kind of got me more interested in the area. And I know that you know, we always talk about the Oregon Trail and how people came out on the Oregon Trail, but when it went to Oregon, there was a California cutoff as a part of that trail, and then, you know, how did that trail develop, and what do we actually call it? We don't call it, you know, the Mormon Trail. We refer to it as, I know there are all these different references, but that Oregon Trail, as it came out to Idaho and kind of branched off into the California cutoff, where, you know, how does it come through, you know, our mountain range, and what do we actually call it up there?
Well, you're asking for about a 4-hour lecture.
Yeah, I'm sure.
In just a few minutes, but the whole thing was a result of the California Trail was a result of the gold rush, and instead of people going to Oregon to find land, of course they were coming to California to find gold. A lot has been written about mining and the gold rush and all that, but not a lot of people know about how they get here and why did they go the way they went, and that's the part that fascinated me, and that's what this is all about.
When you get to the area above Kirkwood, you know, I see all these signs and people refer to it as the Mormon Trail, but is that accurate when you say Mormon Trail?
No, that's a modern day term. Even though the Mormon battalion who came to California to fight the Mexicans with the U.S. Army in 1846-47 were the ones that opened the trail, and what we now call the Carson River route. Their motivation was to get to the Salt Lake Valley. They weren't trying to establish a gold rush route. It just coincidentally happened that way because there was only one other route, and that was the Donner Route, which basically follows Interstate 80. That was not an easy route, and of course it had that shroud of the Donner tragedy over it, and people wanted to avoid it. They didn't want that same experience.
Well, the Carson River route just sounds so much better to me. I love that East Fork of the Carson River. I fly fish up there all the time. It's one of the most beautiful areas. You know, you happen to have a passion, obviously, for the area, and I can't think of a better area to spend time studying, and we'd like to have you back on the show, and I'd like to speak with you further in terms of learning more about the the specific area and some of the details, because you're really a resource.
Sure.
And
well, if you're interested, on Saturday, November 10th, in Sutter Creek, at the Sutter Creek Methodist Church, I'm going to be giving a talk.
You have a talk coming up on November 10th, and we encourage all of our viewers to get over there to Sutter Creek and hear you speak on November 10th over there. I appreciate it, Frank. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
Okay, pleasure.